Whoa, what a trade deadline that was. That was crazy. That was absolutely ridiculous. The amount of trades, the amount of massive trades that we saw, it's crazy. It's crazy. But welcome to the Heat Report. For those of you guys who do not know, I am a Heat fan, but I'm going to be covering the trade deadline and going over all the major trades that happened today. You know, there was a lot of them, but I will be going over all of them. So leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, and comment down below. Like I said, I'm a Heat fan. I'm trying to make this an NBA channel as well, so that I can get a bigger audience, because I am a basketball fan as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it, because there's a lot of trades we got to get through. So yeah, let's get right into it without further ado. So I'm not going to talk about all the deals. I'll talk about a lot of them, but I'm not going to talk about, all of them, just because there's some that don't really matter that much. Like one deal I'm not going to be talking about, Torrey Craig to the Suns. I'm not going to talk about that. We all know, that's a very minor deal. But this all started, I think the first deal was the Knicks trade for Cam Reddish, Kevin Knox. Right now, it's not going too well for the Knicks and Cam Reddish, because apparently Tom Thibodeau didn't even want Cam Reddish. So, and he was a name that was actually expected to get moved to the deadline. There was a lot of talk with him and the Lakers, but obviously the Lakers did not do anything. The Clippers with Norman Powell, Robert Covington. Powell has looked really good. The Blazers are trying to save money. Pacers sent LeVert to the Cavs for Rubio and picks. I actually like that for both teams. Cavs are trying to, do everything they can to put themselves in not championship contention, but because I still don't think they're a contender, but in win now mode, I guess. Ricky Rubio is, he's out for the season, and Karis LeVert is a guy that can help them. CJ McCollum to the Blazers was really the biggest, trade that really kicked it off, because that was yesterday, and we all expected CJ McCollum to get traded, because the Blazers, as soon as they traded Norman Powell, it looked like they were about to start selling and try to move in a different direction, and this trade was a lot. It was a lot of players moved. CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., Tony Snell all going to New Orleans. Portland receiving Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Tomas Satoransky, and Didi Louzada, as well as a 2022 first-round pick protected, and 2 future seconds. Then they traded Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the Jazz for Joe Ingles' expiring contract. And that was basically the deal. That was basically the deal. Hernan Gomez as well went to the Jazz. Where the Spurs got Tomas Satoransky in that deal back. CJ McCollum to the Pelicans, I really like it for them. When they eventually get Zion back, I don't know when he's gonna come back, but that's a team that can make some noise in the Western Conference. You still have BI, who's been playing really well. I thought he should have been in the All-Star conversations this year. Zion, we all know when he's healthy how great of a talent he is. It's just a matter of him staying on the court. And then CJ McCollum is a guy that can be, a closer for them if they need. He can be a guy who can play off the ball. He fits really, really well with this team. I really like CJ McCollum's fit. Defensively, it's going to be tough. They gave up Josh Hart, who I thought was one of their best defenders. They have Herb Jones. He's probably like their only defensive monster. Larry Nance is a pretty underrated defender too, but they'll have to figure out their defense, because they were not a good defense, and they kind of just got worse defensively. But they're trying to do everything they can to put themselves in a spot for the play-in. Seeing that Portland is now selling, so I like that for the Pelicans. The Trailblazers, I like that they have a direction. I tweeted this. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. It'll be the pinned comment. I like that they have a direction now. They've always been like this mediocre team, who hasn't really been a contender, but has not really been in a rebuild either. They've kind of just been middle of the pack for years now. And I really like this deal until I heard that their plan was to now build around Damian Lillard for the future. I don't really know how that's going to work, because I don't know any free agents who, big time free agents who are going to go to Portland. It's a smaller market, unless they just throw a bag at them, which is I think what they're probably going to do. They're probably just going to try to throw as much money as possible to one of these top tier free agents like DeAndre Ayton, James Harden. Well, not James Harden anymore. James Harden just signed an extension. We'll get to that later. Kyrie Irving, some people like that. So we'll see how that goes for them. But I do like that they have a direction now. They got picks back. Anthony Simons, I think, is a future All-Star. I'm excited. Keon Johnson, I thought should have been a lottery pick. I think the Portland Trailblazers will be good. Apologies for the sound, by the way. I am filming this in my dorm room, and there is a lot of outside noise. So hopefully the audio is clear. But yeah, the Portland Trailblazers. I think it's good that they're going in a direction. They probably could have gotten more, but apparently CJ McCollum was a negative asset, so that kind of makes sense as to why they did not get as much from him. I thought they could have gotten more for Norman Powell though. But yeah, and then we saw the biggest deal of yesterday. Halliburton getting traded to the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis was a three-player deal going both ways. Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson to the Indiana Pacers, and the Sacramento Kings getting Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday. We actually saw Sabonis in action yesterday. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty good in the jersey, and he played pretty well as well. But I still don't like this for the Kings for the future. I mean, for now, it makes them a better team, I guess. And they did make another move today in a 14 deal, which we'll talk about. But I just don't like it for the future, because I thought that if they were going to pick one between De'Aaron and Tyrese, I think it should have been Tyrese to stay, because he's younger. I think he fits better with Sabonis if you wanted to pair a guard with him, because he can shoot the ball a lot better than De'Aaron can. De'Aaron's contract is a lot more expensive. Tyrese is still on his rookie deal. I like the idea of Sabonis in Sacramento. I just don't know if they picked the right guard to ship away. For the Pacers, this is an absolute W. I think the Pacers did really well this whole trade deadline. Shout out to the Pacers. The Rubio trade, that's fine. It's not really about Rubio. It's just about freeing up Karis LeVert and getting first round picks back in return. I would have liked to see them trade Miles Turner, but looks like they're pretty content with keeping him, and he's pretty content now that he has a bigger role on the team. I think Brogdon will probably get traded at the end of the season, in the offseason, after they just got Tyrese Halliburton. They still have Chris Duarte. I still think they're probably going to select a guard in the draft, unless they end up in the top 3, which is very unlikely. So expect a Jaden Ivey, someone like that, who's an Indiana kid, to go to the Indiana Pacers. I don't think that's too far-fetched. But the Pacers are one of my winners, man. They did a lot of things well. The Jalen Smith, Torrey Craig thing I said I wouldn't talk about, but Jalen Smith is a guy who was just a 10th overall pick last year, so they took a chance on him. I like this. I like this a lot for the Pacers. The Pacers, did a really good job this whole deadline. So shout out to the Pacers and Kevin Pritchard, who is their GM. Then, like I said, the Joe Ingles, Nickeil Alexander-Walker stuff. The Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Clippers, and Kings made a 4-team deal. That was the first one. That was the first deal that happened in today's deadline. Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, and Trey Lyles to the Kings. Pistons received Marvin Bagley. Clippers received Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye. And Bucks received Ibaka and 2 second-round picks. Ibaka and 2 second-round picks. I'm going to start off with the Bucks. I think this is a good deal for the Bucks, because Brook Lopez, I don't know how serious his injury is, but Ibaka is another long, lengthy defender. And if I'm the Heat, I'm just going to talk about the Heat real quick. That's not a good sight to see, because you have Ibaka and Giannis on the interior. So, if you're an Eastern Conference team, their defense just got stronger. DiVincenzo is a piece that I thought could have been big if they lost, and they did lose him. It was interesting that he went to the Kings, because I'm pretty sure the Kings were trying to get him last year before the season started, and they got their guy. Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles, they just took flyers on those guys. I love what the Pistons did, though. I really like how the Pistons are taking chances on guys who are high picks but didn't really pan out in their situations. They did it with Josh Jackson. Obviously, just got rid of him, but Marvin Bagley as well. I think Marvin Bagley has untapped potential, and I think he just needed the right situation. And the Pistons don't really have anything to lose. They're not really going anywhere. They're just rebuilding. So taking a chance on this guy, low risk, high reward. Clippers, Semi Ojeleye, Rodney Hood, nothing too major. But they already had their 2 centers in Zubac and Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been balling this year. So it made sense for them to get rid of Ibaka. But that was that 4-team deal. Bol to the Magic, good for them. The Celtics saved money, and then they traded Josh Richardson for Derek White. And it was actually more than just Josh Richardson. I can't disrespect Romeo Langford. And they also traded a first-round pick. I like this for both teams. I really like this for both teams. I think that Josh Richardson, is an expiring deal. So the Spurs, can just... The Spurs can let him go at the end of the season if they need to. They obviously, the first-round pick, they needed that because Derek White is a better player, so they're getting a first-round pick back. Romeo is a young piece who was just a lottery pick in 2019. He was the 14th overall pick, right behind Tyler Hero. So I like this for the Spurs. The Celtics, Derek White, I think is a good player, and he's obviously an upgrade over Josh Richardson. Provides facilitating, scoring, and yeah, he kind of just fits in that starting lineup. I really like that. With him, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Robert Williams, that's a good starting lineup. The Celtics have been rolling recently, so just adding Derek White, really, really helps them. The Raptors traded traded Goran Dragic to the Spurs and a first-round pick, protected for Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a second-round pick. Dragic is probably going to get bought out. Maybe he's going to come back to Miami, but maybe not. I don't think the Heat were that interested. Because looking at the teams that Woj said that might draw interest from him, I think it was like the Mavs, the Clippers, the Bucks, and someone else, which is not the Heat. So I think that the Mavs might be out of the question now, seeing as they just made a trade that we're going to talk about very soon for another guard. But the Bucks maybe could be a place for him. We'll see what happens with Goran, but hopefully he finds a good situation for himself. Thaddeus Young, I think, is a good veteran piece for the Raptors. He's another guy who can be a buyout candidate, but I don't know if the Raptors are going to buy him out because they need depth. The Raptors have been playing with like a 5-6 man rotation for like the longest period of time, and they don't really have a bench. He's a good veteran piece that can, help develop guys like Precious Achiuwa, young guys like that, Kem Birch, Chris Boucher, just teach them the ropes at the center position. Even though he's not like a natural center, he's a power forward, but still. Drew Eubanks is a guy that can, he's a center. He's not the best, but he's just another player. And then the second round pick, first round pick, whatever. The first round pick is protected. The second round pick is probably going to be early because it's from the Pistons. So, we'll see what happens with that. Then the Torrey Craig deal, the Daniel Theis deal, and then James Harden to the 76ers. The biggest deal of the deadline by far. Crazy, absolutely ridiculous. We all expected it. We all expected James Harden to go to Philly, but it's still crazy to me that he got traded because, yesterday you had Woj and Windhorst going back and forth saying one was like, oh, the trade is imminent. The other one was like, oh, they haven't even talked. So we didn't even know if he was going to get traded, or not. It was just a smoke screen, but we knew that if Harden got traded, it would be to Philly. It came out this morning that he requested a trade, but he didn't want to make it public because he didn't want backlash. I'm going to go over, why I think this team won this deal. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on Twitter, Instagram. I really think the Brooklyn Nets won this deal. I'm not even going to lie. And I know Ben Simmons, he's the butt of a lot of jokes, memes, a lot of that stuff. That's fine. But I really think that Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and if Kyrie Irving, I don't know what the status on him is with the mandate being lifted or whatever. But let's just say that they have a healthy Kyrie, not healthy Kyrie, but they have a Kyrie who's eligible to play in every game. Because I did hear that the mandate might get lifted in Brooklyn, so he might be able to play home games soon. But maybe it was just a rumor. They already have the scoring that they need. Like, even without Kyrie, Patty Mills, I know he's been on like a slump recently, but he's still a very capable scorer, an offensive player. Seth Curry in that deal was huge. Like, I don't think people realize the impact of Seth Curry in this deal, especially because Philadelphia, we'll talk about why I don't think Harden and Embiid is a good fit, but who are they going to kick it out to? Danny Green? Furkan Korkmaz? Like, these guys are okay, but Seth Curry is literally one of the top 5, top 10 shooters in the NBA. This guy is a bona fide, sniper. And not only that, he's been showing flashes of getting to the mid-range area, mid-range pull-up, floaters. He's been really working on his game. Andre Drummond is a guy that is a big body. He can be a center who can, all he has to do is just rebound, protect the rim, set screens, and catch lobs. And he'll do plenty of that with Ben Simmons. And for the Brooklyn Nets, they also got 2 future first-round picks. I wanted to see them do something with those picks. They were talking about them trying to go get Miles Turner. That did not happen. But, yeah, man, I really think the Brooklyn Nets came out on top, especially because James Harden, there were already rumors saying that James Harden was going to leave. So the fact that they traded him for another piece, that's a W in my opinion. I really think that's a W. Philly, I don't think Philly takes an L, but I think that Philly could have done better, which is like ironic to say because James Harden is one of the, off name, he's one of the top 10 players in the NBA. But here's what I don't like. I don't like teams going for guys who are just big names. It's easy saying, oh, James Harden, he's a, top 10 talent, top 5 talent. We're going to go trade for him. That's cool. He's obviously he's one of the top 10 players in the NBA, but I really think that a guy like CJ McCollum, a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who was on the board, but the Sixers wanted him and Fox, would have been a lot better fits. Because off the ball, it's night and day between James Harden and between those 2 guys I mentioned. James Harden is going to go into this organization because James Harden, he's played for 3 teams in 2 years now. He's requested a trade 2 times now, in the past, 2 years. He is not really the guy who's going to go in and accept the fact that he's a number 2. If he's not a number 1 guy, he's going to do a lot of standing around. He's going to do a lot of, not moving without the ball. Defensively, he's not going to show that much effort because he probably thinks that when he goes into the Philadelphia 76ers practice facility, he's probably going into the mindset that it's his team. It's not. It's Joel's team. Joel Embiid is the guy. Even with James Harden, Joel Embiid, that's his team, dog. And that's why it worked out so well with him and Jimmy, because Jimmy was an unselfish guy who was willing to understand. He was willing to, understand that Joel Embiid, it was Joel Embiid's team before Jimmy got there. I know Jimmy took a lot of the last minute game winning shots and all that, but he was still able to understand and put his ego aside. Something that I don't think James Harden's going to do. James Harden is a guy that, off the ball, I think he's atrocious. I think, if he's not the number 1 option, I think he's going to moan and pout. And number 3, people are saying how it works so well with Clint Capella. Joel Embiid is not Clint Capella. Joel Embiid is an infinitely better talent than Clint Capella. Clint Capella was solely a lob threat. How many points have we seen Joel Embiid score off lobs this season? Hardly any, because he's had the ball in his hands. He's gone to work, face-ups, post-ups, isolations, 3-pointers, 2-pointers, crossovers, dunks, everything. Joel Embiid has been the guy. You're telling me that James Harden is going to come into this team and Joel Embiid is still going to be able to play the same way? No, I don't think so. Which is why I think that, obviously James Harden is a very good player and we all know how great of a talent he is, but as far as fit is concerned, I don't think this is the best fit whatsoever. And maybe I'm tripping. Maybe, maybe it's just me who has that opinion. We all knew Joel Embiid did not like pick and roll. We all know he had problems with pick and roll when Ben Simmons was doing pick and roll. So yeah, man, I'm not a fan of this. I'm really not a fan of this whatsoever. We'll see how it works for the Sixers, but I don't think the Sixers are the best team in the East. I don't even think they're top 3. I still think they're behind Milwaukee, they're behind Brooklyn, and they're behind Miami. So there'll be a lot of pick and roll action. Joel Embiid is not the biggest fan of pick and roll. He can do a lot more with the ball in his hands, but we'll see what happens. I'm not a big fan of this. I'm really not a big fan of this, but like I said, we'll see what happens. And then the last big deal we're not talking about Dennis Schroeder to the Rockets, if that was what someone was thinking. But Porzingis to the Wizards, dog. Porzingis to the Wizards. Big W for the Wizards. They traded Montrezl Harrell for basically nothing because they had 2 centers already, like the Clippers. They have Thomas Bryant, they have Daniel Gafford. Porzingis is a guy that, if he gets to the right team and if he blossoms, this guy is going to be scary, because the only thing that's holding him back is him staying on the court. I don't think he was utilized well on the Mavericks. I'm going to keep saying it. He was utilized as a guy who just spotted up, catch and shoot guy. Rarely any post-ups, rarely any, times where he had the ball in his hands. It was mainly Luka, just dribbling the ball for 20 seconds and kicking it out to a shooter. I think Porzingis needed to go to a better situation, and I'm so glad they made the trade, because I'm a huge fan of his, and I'm so glad that they freed him, because I didn't think that he was flourishing in Dallas. The Mavericks basically got nothing. Spencer Dinwiddie, was good a couple years ago. This year he's been terrible. Efficiency-wise, on the court, eye test, he's been terrible. Bertans is on a huge contract, and I guess he provides spacing for Luka, but I mean, look at his shooting numbers over the past couple of seasons and how they've dipped. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this for the Mavericks. I really like this for the Wizards. But yeah, we'll see how that develops. I think Porzingis is currently injured, so we'll see how that develops in the future. But that was basically the whole trade deadline. Now we got to watch out for the buyout market. A team like the Lakers, a team like the Heat. These 2 teams are probably going to be active during the buyout market. Probably the Warriors too. The Bucks. I think these four teams are going to be the most active during the buyout market. Maybe even the Nets. So, for a team like the Heat, for a team like the Suns, who didn't really do much, because they were so good at the top already. I think that you got to watch out for that buyout market, because the buyout market is where a lot of teams can make these sneaky moves and they can just creep up on you without you expecting it. So, yeah, that's what we're probably going to wrap up the video. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are about all these trades. Who won, your biggest winners and losers of the deadline. And yeah, man, I'll see y'all later as always. Peace.